How's it going, everybody? MyCupOfTea here, back in a reaction video, and it's time to watch more Pokemon videos. Yay, yay. Now it's time for us to go back to Pokemon school. It's been a minute. I got my seatbelt ready because it's time to learn. Because I have a video I want to watch in the future, very soon. Kind of soon. We'll see. So I need to refresh my Pokemon knowledge or learn some more things about Pokemon. So today we're going to be watching about Pseudo-Legendary Pokemon. Now I was supposed to check this out a couple of months ago because there was this video I watched. I don't remember the title of it, but someone commented below and said, hey, you should check out what, pseudo-Legendary Pokemons are. That's hard to say. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And now it's time to do it. Now it's time to fulfill that promise. So yeah, hopefully I got the right video. Let me just double check real quick. All right, this is the right video, so let's get into this. Let's start this. Okay. All right.
I'm gonna keep it real with you.
Keep it real with me. Let's see what's going on here.
I'm working on my own creature collector based off of STEM topics, and I've shared quite a few designs so far. I probably shouldn't really talk about a really strong design at the end of my decks, but I think I have other surprises in store whenever I do finish the game in a distant future.
A game. Oh, okay.
So I'll talk about that one design today. But before that,
let's do it.
I guess it wouldn't hurt to talk about a similar archetype in Pokemon.
We love game devs here. We love game devs.
Pseudo-Legendary.
Oh, that's right. So yeah, Pseudo-Legendaries. I know nothing about that. So what I think it is probably maybe it's like a Pokemon it's as strong as a legendary, but it's not a legendary Pokemon. So Pseudo. Yeah? Like Pseudo-Wudo. No, that's not the same. That's not the same. Ignore me. Ignore me.
Alright, so what is a pseudo?
Yes.
Pseudo means fake. So we're talking about fake legends.
I was right. Never mind, I was right.
And somehow every generation has at least one line that falls in this category. How did this start? Back in Generation 1, if you look at the dex order, which isn't exactly the order you encounter the mons, it's just a rough ballpark for most of them. Anyways, at the end of the dex, you got the fossils, Snorlax, the obstacle mon, then the legendary trio of birds, and
birds.
What's this? There's more? I mean, Mew and Mewtwo sound reasonable as they are mythicals and legends themselves, but who is this line? Dratini is hard to get in Generation 1. You either had to grind the casino or go into the safari. You never saw it spawn regularly otherwise. So what's the hype around this worm anyways? Whoa, is that a dragon type? Seriously, in Generation 1, there was never a dragon type up till now, and what's that? The last Elite Four member, spoilers by the way, is dragon themed? And they have the evolutions of Dratini? What a special mon. Now, they aren't treated as straight up legends like lore-wise. Heck, if we're going by lore, even Arcanine was mentioned to look legendary. But the Dratini line certainly has that special surprise factor. Just need to fully evolve it and level them up to level 55.
Wait, time out. Wait. Put on captions because I don't know the names real quick. But, okay, yeah, the worm transforms into this. I've seen this before. But this evolution transforms to this. What was it? Dragonite? Something. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I've been seeing this Pokemon a bunch of times in AMVs. I didn't know that. That's on me.
As a reference, not only is this the highest level requirement in Generation 1, but it remains as one of the highest level requirements in the franchise.
Oh, wow.
This thickums makes you seriously work for it. And I think that's the main philosophy of Pseudo-Legends. It's a line you really want to work towards, as you are rewarded with a pretty strong mon. But how strong, you ask? That's a great question. Starting with Dragonite and all the way up to the Pseudo we see in Generation 9, the total base stats are all the same. In fact, Japanese fans call this set the 600 Club, as they all have the total base stat of 600. And why is that? Well, in Gen 1, Dragonite technically only had a total base stat of 500, and that can be explained by how Gen 1 only had 5 kind of stats, unlike the 6 that we're familiar with today. It can be explained by how Gen
Wait, what's the stats? HP attack. Is it special attack? Special defense?
Dragonite technically only had a total base stat of 500, and that can be explained by how Gen 1 only had 5 kind of stats.
So they combined. So later on, we split up special for special attack and special defense. Okay. Oh, wow, I didn't know that actually. I didn't know that. Okay.
That we're familiar with.
I'm learning a lot today.
Dragonite seems to be balanced around having an average of 100 points per stat. Now, it's not only hundreds across the board, but it kind of sends the message that on average, 100 for each stat should feel pretty high.
Yeah.
What do you mean there's power creep? But seriously, I think that's the reason why this rule is so heavily enforced in this franchise. There's actually other non-legendary mons that also exceed 600 base stats, but they usually have a requirement or some detriment added to them to balance them out. But the total base stat for this archetype won't exceed 600, which, by the way, is a pretty high total base stat, higher than most other legendaries like the Kanto birds, which have 580. It's why this archetype is called Pseudo-Legendary, because stat-wise they can go toe-to-toe with some of the lore-centric special mons. But say you wanted to make a mon of this archetype, well then I'll have to tell you that stats aren't everything in making a mon. Here, we still got a lot of generations to talk about, so let's continue this conversation as we talk about Tyranitar.
Tyranitar, that's the green.
Your father knows about.
Thank you, Literary Mutual. That's the green dinosaur one, right? That I've seen before. Yeah, because I feel like Dragon was the best, like one of the best types to have before fairy types were introduced. Because I know fairies are like super strong against dragon types, and then there's ice too. But fairies wasn't a thing until like Gen 5, 6. Oh, I don't remember. I don't remember. And we're back.
Ooh, beat Godzilla.
Yeah.
They're Godzilla, right? Is it another kaiju? Well, they're a kaiju at least. They kind of go through the stages of complete metamorphosis from a larva, a pupa, to an adult. I talked more on that in my early route video. But yeah, that's cute and all, but we're in a conversation about what actually goes into making these mons.
You don't need captions.
Yes, you want them to be worthwhile, but if you make them too strong, the game might get stale after getting a pseudo-legend on your team. Because again, those total base stats are actually really high.
Right, yeah,
so how are these pseudo-legendaries kept in place? Types. Both Dragonite and Tyranitar have a type combo that is 4 times weak to a specific type. For T-Tar, heck, Rock Dark type is one of the worst combos ever.
Really?
But Dark type was Rock Dark type is one of the
Rock Dark type, huh? Cause yeah. Wait, fighting beats rock? No way. Interesting. Okay, I knew about the ice one, yeah. Okay, but you're weak to ground. Wait, no. Wait, no, I'm confused. You weak to ground, bug, steel. Dang, that's a lot of weaknesses. That's a lot of weaknesses.
The times weak to a specific type. For T-Tar, heck, Rock Dark type is one of the worst combos ever.
Oh yeah, there's a rock type. I'm stupid.
Dark
Yeah, there is. I remember now.
Strong type in this generation to counter the previously dominating Psychic. Alright, so Pseudos take a long time to fully train because they got a beefy 600 stat points, but since that's too strong, they got terrible typing. Well, enter Generation 3. Ruby and Sapphire brought a new element into franchise that I really appreciate. Abilities. Each species now has 1 to 3 kinds of abilities that bring a certain condition when they are in play. So now when you encounter a mon, you can't just think what types they are weak to and what stats they are good or weak in.
Okay.
Now when you see some mons, you gotta think what abilities they could have.
I thought that was always in like the Pokemon games, even way back, Gen 1. I see. That's smart. Okay. Evolving the system.
And change your game plan to work around that. It might sound like a lot to keep track of all of it, but it's like a Cuphead boss, right? As you play the games from gen to gen, they expect you to be more familiar with how one mechanic works and build on from there. Yeah, it's not that every ability is pertinent to every situation anyways. Now let's talk about power creep. Power creep...
And then you get to the King Dice. Something, not King Dice. It was, whatever that guy is towards the end. He said, alright, now fight every single boss, basically, if you mess up the dice roll. That was pain.
Is pertinent to every situation anyways. Now let's talk about power creep. Power creep is understandable? Inevitable? I don't know. But for a series game like Pokemon, where you can bring past mons into the new games, you gotta have a selling point to pick up some of the new designs. But you don't want to make the power jump too high that it totally disconnects the audience. This is just the 3rd generation so far. let them cook with this new ability concept. Because Hoenn didn't forget about how the past pseudo-legendaries are supposed to feel pretty strong, so they gave them some abilities that would boost the usefulness of those past mons. Dragonite got Inner Focus in Gen 3, which protects them from flinches. Okay, it's not the most useful ability. I guess being Dragon type was already good enough for now. But in Gen 5, they would get the more iconic multi-scale, which halves the damage taken when they're at full HP. And Tyranitar,
really
the
good.
baby with all the weaknesses in the world, was given Sandstream, which sets up a sandstorm that hurts everyone at the end of the turn, except for certain types.
Okay.
The weather can trigger all sorts of other abilities and change other moves that can dramatically change how the battle is played out. Psst, by the way, Sandstorm changed in Gen 4 to only last a few turns, but in turn they buffed Rock-type special defense by 50%, effectively giving Tyranitar even more defenses.
Don't hurt me.
Tyranitar as a Sandstorm setter remains popular even decades later.
I forgot. Yeah. I never really watched the Pokemon because I wasn't into Pokemon back then. I wasn't into Pokemon, but I heard about the tournaments they be having. I think what's this one guy named Wolfie? I think he's like one of the best, I believe. So yeah, I forgot how crazy Pokemon can go. I forgot there was tournaments.
Look at these pseudo-legendary Chungai, getting out there, living their life. But wait, we're in Generation 3 right now, and that's 1, 2... Bruh, I haven't even talked about this generation pseudo. Salamence is a salamander
that's a pseudo?
who weirdly goes through complete metamorphosis. That's cute, but they're dragon flying just like Dragonite. So, what makes Salamence different?
Yeah.
Stat-wise, they're a bit more optimized towards their offenses than
A little bit,
Dragonite.
yeah.
But Salamence got Intimidate, which is more supportive, as it lowers the opponent's attack to allow for some setup or let the rest of your team manage with the opponent better. And way later in Generation 5, they will get Moxie. Moxie raises Salamence's attack after Generation 5. They will get Moxie.
What's disturbing about that happen?
raises Salamence's attack after every KO they make, making them a nasty snowballing sweeper.
Oh no! Oh lordy, that is disturbing to watch.
Man.
Oh god!
I know there's a lot of other games that do
Run!
this by allowing you
Get out of there! Get out of there! He's too strong. That's kind of broken. Bet you have like the worst opponent. Like you have the worst Pokemon out against elements. That might be GG right there.
You just gotta love abilities, man. I know there's a lot of other games that do this by allowing you to have different kind of loadouts, different deck
Never played
builds,
any of these games before.
Dang, to bring this to this genre of RPG, I don't know, it just brings so much character behind each design. But hold up, there's another pseudo-legendary in Generation 3.
Metagross is a
That's
pseudo-legendary?
right.
Metagross.
There are 2 lines
Metagross
that
is...
slowly evolve into a 600 base
I didn't know that
stat
either.
total in this generation. But this isn't a situation where you could only get one or the other in a single playthrough. The 2 lines aren't necessarily
I thought they were
side
legendaries.
grades of each other because you could get both Salamence and Metagross by yourself. The catch is, you could only get a more defensive Metagross in the post-game. Honestly, this is kind of ingenious, as it encourages you to keep playing and exploring after you beat the champion. Pokemon never repeated this again, which is understandable, because if everyone is
the first
600
Pokemon game I
BST,
beat.
no one... I mean, they would feel a lot less special and not uniquely powerful, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see multiple pseudos in a future generation.
Oh, that was also Gen 3, okay. Interesting, so yeah, so of course, well not of course, but I didn't know Metagross, was a pseudo-legendary. I thought it was just like, just a regular Pokemon. I didn't know it was like a pseudo-legendary. I thought I called them like the bike Pokemons from, what was it, Scarlet and Violet, the new game. I thought they were legendaries. I didn't know they were pseudo-legendaries as well, okay. Also interesting. And yeah, so it's better to take the Pokemon and evolve it to its final form than to like wrap it out post game, because it's a different types. Okay. What is this? I don't want it. And we're back.
Of all the champion teams, Cynthia's is probably the most popular.
I swore I thought Garchomp was
She has
a
a lot of
legendary.
scarily bulky mons, but her ace is often depicted as Garchomp, the pseudo-legendary landshark of Sinnoh. Gotta find a way to make them worthwhile so they slightly outspeed Salamence base stat-wise. Of course, in practice, you could train every mon to be slightly better at a specific stat.
Yeah.
This just means that the fastest Garchomp would be faster than the fastest Salamence. Now, when I was drawing this guy on my Twitch stream at
Hey, Twitch.
twitch.tv/Nordist, I remember some people talking about Gabite looking too similar to Garchomp, which is,
Yeah,
I mean, they
I
got
see it.
similar poses, and it's hard to realize the different body shape and the head unless you really stop and look at both of them side by side. And that's honestly a legit issue for 3-stage lines as a whole. How do you make each stage look distinct from each other, especially if you have an intermediate stage? That's probably why
yeah.
we've had complete metamorphosis-like progressions in the other pseudos, so I'll probably go into this more in a
Okay, real quick, yeah, this one right here, this shell Pokemon, right? I had a conversation with my friend a couple days ago, who has been a part of the Pokemon Battle Royales a couple times, but yeah. I didn't know this shell thing was a dragon, because we had played Pokemon Emerald, it was a Nuzlocke thing, Soul Link. Yeah, I didn't know this was a dragon. So I hit it with like a water move, I hit it with something, it was like, oh yeah, not effective. I'm like, what are you? And then my friend said, oh, he's a dragon. I'm like, where? Where's the dragon? But yeah, I didn't know this evolved into this at all. I did not know that. When he told me earlier today, or a couple days ago. Pokemon is interesting. Pokemon is interesting.
a separate video, but I'll just say this. If you cover different concepts for each stage,
Ooh, a
you
clown.
can most likely make each stage stand
no.
out more easily. Garchomp's whole line is just about sharks walking on land, and while Gibble is an adorable little blorb, the intermediate Gabite could feel
The shark
too
with
close
boots.
to Garchomp. I don't know, I still like Gabite, but those were just my 2 cents on 3-stage line designs. Since Generation 4, Pokemon started to split every one
Oh,
of their
the
moves
Hydra
to
thing.
count as physical
Yeah,
or
yeah.
special damage, like selecting a Barbarian versus a Mage. It used to
Barbarian-
be based on a type, but
No,
no.
no, Barbarian
now
all
each
day.
move has a type and a type of damage that they inflict. While all these pseudos so
okay.
far have decent special attack, this generation Pseudo-Legendary is the first one that excels in it. This Ein Zwei dry-headed Hydra is a dark dragon type. Whoa, what a menace. Really, it takes so many levels
Ooh,
just to evolve this
64.
guy.
Ooh.
What the heck? Why is it so high? Now, people like to mention that there are some other contenders that could probably be counted as a fake legendary just because how they're treated in the game or how they're relevant to the story like other legendaries. But even though this pseudo-legendary 600 club title is a fan-made term, most people are using it exclusively for this one archetype Pokemon keeps putting in, because it appears to be a metric of what a strong Pokemon should feel like. If these pseudos feel underwhelming compared to the rest of the new cast, that might be a sign of severe power creep. And
Real quick. So it's not like an official term that Pokemon, like the company or that made. It's like the fans made it, not made it up, but like said it to be. I think is what he's saying. Okay. So if you're like in a 600 club and maybe a little bit more, some more extra stuff he's gonna mention, you're a pseudo-legendary. Okay, I can get behind that.
anyways, Hydreigon isn't known for being impossibly underleveled in the last story fight of Gen 5. No, they are known for the change that they would bring upon in the next generation.
What do they do next generation? Gen 6.
You know, with all these pseudo-legendaries running around,
Goodra!
Dragon-type became a lot more prevalent. And a problem with that is Dragon-type was supposed to be a very strong type, only
Right.
balanced by how rare they are, with only one line getting it in Generation 1. I made a whole video on this too. Anyways, many, but not all, of these new pseudo-legendaries seem to keep having the Dragon-type
Right.
immediately come out the door as being pretty strong. So Generation 6 added the ultimate counter to dragons, the fairy type.
Fairy? So I was right. Gen 6. That's good. I think I said Gen 6 earlier when fairy type was introduced.
Not only are fairies super effective against dragons, but you can no
Wait,
longer
sorry, real quick. What if they introduce, because I know it's like a Pokemon something coming out next year, I think. What if they introduce another type? I don't think they would, but what if they did? That'd be crazy. Like, what would you even call it? Folklore? No, that'd be fairy still. I don't know.
the fairy type.
I got
Not
nothing.
only are fairies super effective against dragons, but you can no longer spam Outrage for a win because dragon moves cannot even touch fairies.
Huh?
In fact, fairies also beat dark types, so the edgy
I didn't know that.
Hydreigon
I didn't know
just
that.
becomes eviscerated by a tiny mouse, which is admittedly pretty funny. So what
is
pseudo
funny.
did Generation 6 have? The new fairy type is pretty strong, so they should be... Oh. It's still a dragon type.
Oh.
It's only a dragon type. You know,
Fairies here.
Fair enough. I think Gudra is a good measure of how strong fairies actually are because at least in this generation, most fairy attacks were special, and Gudra has that massive 150 special defense to hold their
Good
own
defense.
ground.
Good
Now
take.
here's a brief aside about the art
Special
of
take.
pseudo-legendaries. Yes, art. Quite subjective. But while a layperson may say that pseudo-legendaries are supposed to be edgy and cool, need we remind ourselves of the first generation's huggable Dragon Knight?
Yeah.
Now, everyone has their preferences, of course, and I think Gudra widened the door of what could be
Appearances are
considered a
appearances,
pseudo-legendary. Too many times in the past were the pseudo-legendaries the de facto cool, edgy designs, while this franchise found their
Garchomp
success
the best so far,
because they could
design-wise
balance
here,
cute
for
and
me.
cool designs in their roster. Some vocal fans may not like the cuter design philosophy of Gudra, but I think people should remember that not every
this
design
snatch you.
is gonna be for them, and that's okay. Now, I'm not telling you to like it. Liking each Pokemon doesn't make you a better person.
I am, no, I'm
But
not.
Pokemon making designs for various people is what makes them a more popular franchise.
Right. That's why we like Garbodor here. We love Garbodor on this channel. Hold on, trailer? No, it's not a trailer. It's just some PlayStation nonsense. Also, Game Awards coming out soon. I think it's the 12th. It's next Thursday, I believe, which I'm gonna be watching. That's gonna be fun. But yeah, people might not like Gudra as a pseudo-legendary, like he said, because it's not as epic and cool like Garchomp and Gross? I feel like it's not Gross, it's Cross. I want to say Gross so bad. And Tyranitar tier. The appearances are appearances. I honestly like the goofy look of Gudra. The goofy looking one. I like it. And we're back.
By
Oh,
now, I
Gen
think
7.
we've established that game data
What
can
is that?
augment a design. It's not necessary, of course, but knowing that behind this piece of art that this guy is a glass cannon or has an ability to change the course of battle gives some personality to
Pelican
the
one.
design. If
Good
anyone
one.
starts racking on the competitive viability of your mod, especially due to the typing, always know that they're floundering on nothing, because type alone doesn't make a mod's usability. We talked about how stats and abilities are important
Yeah, I didn't know
so
about the
far.
abilities part.
If you haven't defined
That's new to
any
me
one of
still.
those, that comment
Kind
has
of.
no real reason to criticize you on gameplay viability. Now, some
Nah,
are
scratch that. If I see a Wobbuffet on your team, I don't like you. I don't like you. Took out 2 of my Pokemon. I don't like you. Or a Blaziken, I don't like you times 2. I have beef with the Blaziken and the Wobbuffets. I don't like them.
no real reason to criticize you on gameplay viability. Now, some artists might tell you that
What is that?
it's fine. Rules are meant to be broken.
Kill that
Art is
immediately.
subjective. And yes, while that is all true, I'm gonna throw in my 2 cents. If you're not sure on any element, don't write it down. If you're going to assign stats and ability, I'd say it's best to respect the conventions others would expect, which means that you should do some research.
Yeah, of course,
What's
yeah.
a reasonable stat and ability that would fit? Otherwise, if you don't want to research it, that's totally fine.
But I'm a hate,
Just
though.
don't outright say the numbers and effects. I'm just talking about avoiding conflict. So that's mainly why I don't write down the numbers in my YouTube videos. Well, the stats are going to change slightly when I make my own game anyways. And most of the abilities I show are from Pokemon, even though I know that when I make my own game in the distant future, they would have different titles and their own effects.
Hey, good
But
luck on the
currently
game if
it's
you're still
just there
working
to
on it.
give
Good luck
enough
on that.
character to the artwork. But let's say if you've done your diligent research and some man-child is still complaining. Well, they still don't know the whole picture because there's still a whole nother element that comes into gameplay. The move pool. Finally, we
Oh, 'cause
get
it
to
got
talk
different
about
types of moves.
Generation
Yeah, that's
7
right.
Pseudo-Legendary. Komo-o, the Komodo
Komo-o?
Dragon. The stats are a
Oh,
bit
Komodo
on the
Dragon.
defensive
Oh,
side,
shoot.
but the fighting dragon
Like
typing
Komodos.
does leave a lot of
Kind of.
weaknesses compared to the pure dragon Gudra.
I'm sorry, what?
Komo-o, the Komodo Dragon. The stats are a bit on the defensive side, but the fighting dragon type
Oh, it's a fighting and dragon type? That's even better. Oh, shoot. That's cool. I like it already.
it does leave a lot of weaknesses compared to the pure dragon Gudra. So how do we make this new design still worthwhile? Give it a signature move. This hasn't happened since Dragonite first
Dang, what an
appeared with a
uppercut.
dragon type move in Generation 1. So Komo got Clanking Scales, which was a special attack move, and it fits right into Generation 7's gimmick, which was
Okay.
all about moves anyway. you do a funny Fortnite dance and unleash one super move per battle, called Z move. Z moves amplify the power of the move, or adds an additional effect for status moves. And some special moves by special species can wield a special Z crystal that adds other additional effects to the move. And Komodo here is actually one of the recipients of these special Z moves. In future generations, these gimmicks wouldn't exist anymore. But in the next generation, they at least gave Komodo another signature move that references their Z move days.
Okay, so was he the only one in this
future
generation?
generations, these gimmicks wouldn't exist anymore. These special Z moves. In future generations, these gimmicks wouldn't exist anymore. But in the next generation, they at least gave Komodo another signature move that references their Z move days.
I see what he means now, yeah. Okay.
Up till now, most of the pseudo-legendaries have been pretty cool in their art, right?
That's like the catapult.
Like, if we're going to call them cute or cool, many of them hit the latter. But what if it's not an either-or situation? Could a design be both cool and cute?
Yes.
I don't know. This is all subjective anyways.
Dragonite.
But dang, do I love Dragapult. Generation 8 Pseudo-Legendary. It's a Diplocaulus back from the dead to fire out their babies like missiles. Coincidentally or not, every new pseudo starting with Komodo was given a signature move. I can only guess it's to make the new additions still feel worth having without breaking the 600 stat limit. This stealth bomber is incredibly fast as their stats are more optimized to be a glass
look at
cannon.
that speed!
How fun.
8.5, what?
Wait, 8.5?
Why is there a decimal?
The heck does that mean?
Yeah.
Well, this is one of the rare instances where a new Pokemon design was introduced in a spin-off game rather than in the main series.
Okay, yep.
Not just Arceus introduced like a good dozen of new designs, most of them being variants of older mons, and one of the variants happened to be of Goodra. Hisuian Goodra is even physically tankier than the one from Generation 6, as they got a steel shell now. They got an adorable animation where they go in their shell with their signature move, Shelter, and... Actually, move over, Goodra. Look at this middle stage! Sliggoo, my beloved. I mean, I already really like Sliggoo, but it has such a big home now. I want to throw it like a frisbee. Adorable. And here we are to the latest generation we have as of now. Paldea has Baxcalibur as the pseudo-legendary, and wow, does it change a lot between their stages. Didn't even need complete metamorphosis this time either. This is Godzilla, right? The number of times I've seen this gift to justify this pinhead is way too high. The ice type does make this frail in general, so they tried to make it up with the highest attack stat of all the pseudos. They really min-maxed here with the special attack being super low. People still argue about how good or bad this design is. Everyone has their own tastes, but looking back, I must say that my personal favorite is Dragapult. But these pseudo-legendaries have once again been shown to be quite popular, not just competitively, but as icons, as they have been given love once again through paradox forms. There's a special lore-based thing in Gen 9.
Wait,
basically.
Wait, no. Paradox forms are what? Sorry, that was from one of the Battle Royales, right? It's like an alternate form of that Pokemon, like a prehistoric. I think they're the right thing. There's like their Screamtail was just like a Jigglypuff, but it's not. I don't remember. Crap.
Paradox forms. There's a special lore-based thing in Gen 9. It basically gives like Dino or robot versions of select few old mons.
Dino robots.
And we got 3 pseudo-legendaries that received this form. In fact, back in Generation 6, there was this Mega Evolution gimmick where certain mons were also chosen to get new forms. And that also had another set of pseudo-legendaries. Wow. So this archetype is pretty important, eh? Not only to keep a standard of balancing gameplay, but also giving an iconic design that people like, especially as they will see the design many times in competitive battles and important story beats. So say I wanted to make something like this, a line that's hard to fully evolve, but rewards you with a super strong mon. How would I go around doing something like that?
Yeah, how would you?
With the
Amex
Gold
Gold
Card,
card, you get your credit card out and you pay for it. Of course,
whether you decide
genius,
to stay in
genius.
Or go all out.
I forgot I was gonna say it because of that Amazon. That American Express card popped up, but yeah. I think Garchomp's my favorite so far, especially when I saw it Mega Evolving. Okay, well we'll talk later, I guess, because we're back.
How would I go around doing something like that? So now I'm trying to make my own game here.
Oh, okay, this
Not
is
a
his
fan
game part. Okay.
because I got some other ideas to mix up the formula.
Let's hear it.
Stemma is my creature collector based off of STEM topics. And my channel here has went through quite a few designs by now. And additionally,
okay.
I think it is worthwhile to have a super strong mon to work towards. So I want a concept that's pretty representative of STEM without being so important that it should be a legend
Okay,
or
I like the
something.
art. I like the
so
art.
I ended up with a dragon. Now I don't have the dragon type in my own game, as I'm
dragon.
distancing my personal project from Pokemon, but the pun remains. It's a Dragon Polygon. Dracogon.
Ah, okay.
Polygons are two-dimensional shapes, while
Right.
one dimension would be just a line.
Didn't that Polygon like have like a banned episode in Pokemon? The anime.
Polygons are
seizures
two-dimensional
it
shapes,
calls, I
while
think.
one dimension would be just a line. Two allows for a whole plane of points. I ended up making it a square to represent the two dimensions. I was thinking
Okay.
of making a pure neurotype or pure spectral type. This is
Don't know
based
what
off
any
of
of that means.
mathematical dimensions. Honestly, typing is pending. I usually put in abilities that I could equate from Pokemon, but now I think I'm gonna give it a signature ability that would be best revealed whenever I finish the game in years. Org. Lastly, Dracogon's lineless art is intentionally even flatter than the ones I've drawn for the others, cause it's 2D. Get to level 40 and you got Drachedron, a polyhedron, which are
okay.
three-dimensional shapes.
3Ds?
That extra dimension gives it that volume as a cube floating
Right,
around.
makes sense. Square to cube.
So we go from 2D to 3D, and the only other place to go is up to 4 dimensions.
How are we gonna do 4D?
While we interact in a spatially 3-dimensional world, having 4 spatial dimensions is harder to represent.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
try
what I'm gonna
something.
ask.
You get a
Yeah,
point,
I-
0 dimensions.
Yep.
You've defined an axis, move it across it for a bit. Now you
One
got a
dimension.
line,
Yep,
1
line.
dimension. Draw another axis, this time perpendicular to the previous one. Now you got a
Yeah, get that.
square or a rectangle, 2 dimensions. Let's make things look nice and go with the regular square. Take the
lines.
square, move it across another perpendicular axis. You
Yeah,
get
like
a
that. Yeah,
cube,
do that. Yeah, cube.
3
I don't
dimensions.
remember that. Yeah, our
Now,
school, our class.
ideally, we'll choose another perpendicular axis, but uh-oh, now they all overlap with the
Yeah.
past axis.
Now this, I don't know anything
So
about 4D.
for now, let's choose just a random axis just to see what creating a 4th dimension would look like.
Okay, math
And get
time.
a cube going across to another cube. We go from a line to a polygon to a polyhedron to a polychoron. That's what 4-dimensional shapes are called.
Polychoron.
Now the square
Interesting.
equivalent of a polychoron is called the tesseract. And what we
I
have
definitely
here is
heard that
more like a
name before.
parallelogram of the 4th dimension, right? It's like the slanted version.
Huh,
But
okay.
another popular depiction of the tesseract is found by folding up a bunch of cubes. If a cube can be made up of squares, a tesseract is made up of a bunch of cubes. But how do you fold up this bad boy? Well, it's hard to do in our world and perception, right? But imagine that you can smush those cubes into a shape that we can force ourselves to understand in
Ooh.
our 3D world. And that last one ends up inverting itself to cover the rest of the shape. In the 4th dimension,
Ooh, that's a lot to take in right there for me right now. That's a lot to take in for me right now. Geometry, I wasn't a fan of that in math. I wasn't bad at it, I just wasn't a fan of it.
and that last one ends up inverting
for
itself
shaping,
to
man.
cover the rest of the shape. In the 4th dimension, none of these cubes are actually smushed, but in our 3D spatial
How we
world, they
perceive
look
it.
smushed. Just like how
Okay,
squares
okay.
look to be smushed when they're on the
Interesting.
surfaces of a cube. So how did I make a mon based off of 4D?
Yeah, I'm actually
Dracoron
curious
would have
about
this
this.
film all around it, but I didn't want the silhouette to just look like one big square, so I figured that it could phase in and out as they're going across the additional spatial dimension that we can't see. Is the 4th dimension actually time, you may ask? Well, yeah, that's a way to look at it, but we're looking at 4th spatial dimension here, which is much harder to visualize, but if we were to force an understanding in our 3D space,
I'm trying to
we'd
see it,
imagine it's
yeah.
something like the Tesseract.
Okay. That's trippy. I like it. I like it though. That's
recap.
trippy though. That's trippy.
Pseudo-Legendary Pokemon keep popping up in every generation, as they are a benchmark of what a strong mon should be
Right,
like.
right.
How? They do so with their massive 600 total base stat. If they start to appear mid, that's probably a sign of some crazy power creep going on, but I think we'd learn more than just about pseudo-legendaries today, because in making any mon for a game, the stats don't tell the whole story, as you have to
Right.
consider typings, abilities, and available moves. If you want to reduce dumb comments talking about competitive viability, Just leave any one of those elements blank and you should be free. Visually, Pseudo-Legends have ranged from cool to cute and everything in between. Pseudos had 3 stages to really make you work for that final evolution. And as it goes for all 3 stages, having a different body plan or concept in mind can definitely help your middle stage feel like a justified design. But if you haven't learned any of that, I hope you at least learned that you could call a 4-dimensional square a tesseract.
Okay.
If you're curious about my STEM-based project, follow the channel. My older videos go over a whole bunch of other designs I made. If you like this video, please let me know, as I spent a lot more time to make this video.
Yeah, this is fun. I
hope it was worth it. In a cruel way, I guess it's like racing to Pseudo-Legendary. You can support me by simply liking and sharing the video, or you can join my Patreon, where I show off some work-in-progress shots and past designs. Thank you again to all my Patreon supporters. And thank you for watching my video. Have a nice one.
Thank you for making
and
the
I'll
video.
see you around.
Oh, that was nice. That was cool.
This season, welcome more joy into your home.
No, nobody on my spectrum. But that was cool. I like that. Okay. What have we learned today as we let the ad play out? Get that ad money. Pseudo-Legendaries, there's not that many. I thought there was like quite a bit. There's not that many. If you use the 600 club, because they have to have a total base stats of 600. I think that's like the main requirement, but like an evolution, like a 3 evolution lines, you know, beginning, middle, and then the final form, whatever. And it seemed like each. Wait, no! I didn't stop it until. Oh, he has one about legendaries. I forgot what I was saying. Legendaries. Okay, I remember it now. It was about how each new game or each new generation, they might introduce a new pseudo-legendary. So when this new Pokemon game comes out, you might see a new one. I'm not sure. Yeah, you might, maybe. I don't know. You guys let me know if you do see one. But okay, interesting. And they can be stronger than the actual legendaries and maybe mythics as well, stat-wise. But again, stats don't tell the full story. Stats and types don't tell the full stories because you gotta worry about the abilities. Yeah, and their moves as well, because they can have different moves. Okay. This is good. Just a good request. So basically, to sum it up, pseudo-legendaries are basically fake legendaries that are as strong as legendaries. Legendary. I just want to say it one more time. Okay. And their total stats are 600, and yeah, okay. Nice. Got it. Thank you so much. It is... Hold on, I can't read your name because I can't see. Nordis, thank you so much. I hope if you finish the game, maybe you're still working on it. Hopefully it goes well. Hopefully it goes great. We need more good indie games out there, great indie games out there. Because currently the AAA gaming space kinda looking a little sometimes, you know? For indie games, they're the future. We love us some indie games out here. So hope you enjoyed my reaction, and thank you for watching. MyCupOfTea's out of here. This is everybody. Okay, now I know. Now I understand. Now my brain grew 2 inches that day. Now that I know what pseudo-legendaries actually are, I'm ready. Ready for what, you may ask? I don't know, because that's not enough of what I need to learn. That's not enough, but I'm ready for something. Whatever that something may be, I'm ready for it.